Sometimes moving across country is what's best for your business and is necessary to grow. This week's guest made that leap and has not looked back. It all started when his grandfather, Sonny, began struggling with Parkinson's. This company has been making some serious noise in the CBD industry, and Sonny's Wellness is led by co-founder Tom Oliva. He is here today celebrating his 1-year anniversary, and once CBD did become legal in 2019, he decided to be proactive and is now finding success. Before I bring on today's guest, let's learn how Tom podcasts. Tom, which platform do you usually stream through?
Probably Spotify. I am the most consistent with. I've always liked Spotify for sure ever since I discovered it.
I like how Spotify does the wrapped up at the end of the year. I still am on Apple. When in the day do you normally listen to your shows?
That is pretty sporadic. I travel a lot, so it might not be exactly every day, but basically long car rides before bed and on the plane typically.
Okay, on the plane, so that's in the headphones, usually like
Yeah.
podcast through.
Yeah, headphones for sure too. Most of the time, usually will even have a headphone in when I'm driving. But yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. And I would love to hear how you podcast too. Reach out to me to be featured on a show. Email info@vincentalancy.com. If this is your first time with us, look no further for your favorite podcast. Whether you're looking to start or scale your business, this is the show for you. For each episode, I sit down with the founder of a company or brand from around the country and across the globe to share their strengths, weaknesses, and advice to help you succeed. Each guest will take you through their story and teach you from their successes and lessons learned. My guest on the show today is the co-founder of Sonny's Wellness, where they are redefining eco-friendly wellness. Their goal? To create a sustainable and environmentally responsible business model by having the smallest impact on the environment as possible. They are committed to educating you about the importance of living a sustainable life. This is a special show for me to deliver, as I have known today's guest for 20 years. As we get older and drift apart from our past friends, we have been able to stay connected because of entrepreneurship. CBD made Sonny's life significantly more comfortable before his passing, and Tom hopes to help others do the same and find how CBD can change their lives as well. Allow me to now bring him on, Tom Oliva. Tom, thank you for joining the show.
Hey, Vin, thanks for having me. Pleasure. Appreciate you bringing me back on for the 1-year anniversary of our business. It's been a very interesting year for a lot of people, I'm sure. But yeah, we're excited to be here, man. Thank you.
There's a lot of learning lessons that come in that first year, especially, which is why we were both anxiously awaiting this episode. Would you mind please introducing yourself to everyone who does not know you and previewing your story a bit before we touch on the entrepreneurial journey?
Yeah, my name's Tom Oliva. I am from Northport, Long Island, 31 years old now. And I started this company a year ago. I've been working on it for probably a year and a half before we launched. So I've really been working on it for almost like 3 years. Feels even longer than that. But we've got a lot of really exciting things going on. And the reason for it is a lot of my past experiences. So the company is named after my grandfather. He had been diagnosed with Parkinson's disease, and medicine just kind of started to fail him. He was very uncomfortable. Started really affecting my dad, who was an only child, and a lot of the weight fell on him. I'm the oldest of 5, so I just felt a bigger responsibility to chip in as well. So I just started, scavenging the internet and trying to figure out what could be a safe, healthy alternative. I discovered cannabis, both versions, THC and CBD, had a lot of reports showing that it could help. My grandfather was much older, so obviously I was way more reserved to give him anything that would be psychoactive. So I took a trip to Manhattan, got a couple of different products, and within a couple hours, I noticed a change in his mood, his muscles. He wasn't as tense. He got like stuck with a really messed up smile, and his hands were all swollen and clenched. He couldn't walk or stand up straight. So, a lot of simple things that we take for granted that these diseases can take away from you, as simple as opening your hands or being able to unclench your jaw. So those things were immediately, within a few hours, subsided. He was able to get full night's sleep for the first time in a couple of years. He was able to hold food down. His mood was just less anxious and ornery. And it was just a major success. So it inspired me to give some to my mother, who has Lyme's disease, going through menopause. So, she's definitely got some things going on. Yep. My girlfriend has anxiety and possibly PTSD from a dog attack. So it really helped her out. And these are like some of the most important people in my life that it's helping. So I was inspired to quit my job in construction and start this company and try to heal others, or at least help, because CBD is great, but it's not the cure. Your lifestyle, the decision you make, the people you surround yourself with, there's tons of factors, but CBD is a great way to get on the right track for so many different things.
Thank you for sharing all that and the basics behind CBD, your why. I think that's a great lesson for everyone tuning in today. Follow your why, something you're passionate about, and you can see how far leaps and bounds you can go. He moved out to Portland to be closer to the sources, right there where he needs to be, made this leap, and the why behind it he just shared of his grandfather came a long way. It's great to see this business evolve. But when you're on your journey now, being on your own, Tom, what are some of the hardest parts for you?
So many different lessons. We could start with just the simple, crazy attention to detail for something like a label or a logo, or you could even go into, how you're going to try to do the right thing with a budget and it's still not going to work. You could talk about how marketing is, so many different things to try and see what works. Right. I would say the most frustrating part on the early stages was like the detail, making sure the label, the logo, the packaging, everything looked really good. But that's just like the first of a million battles. And the next thing that we still sometimes struggle with is marketing, putting your budget into things that might work, might not work, influencers, ads, different type of content. You got to try it all and see what works. So expect failure, expect things not to work, because that's part of the process, and you can't get yourself too beat up over it, especially if you're in a new industry, an emerging space, stuff like that.
In entrepreneurship, you are going to fail time and time again. However, you define failure, I call it more lessons learned. There's some days where 90% of the things I do just don't work out, and can get extremely discouraging, but your eye has to be on the prize, the big picture. Again, it goes back to passion. If it's something you're passionate about, you enjoy doing it. And if you enjoy doing it, you'll work relentlessly until the goals are fulfilled. And I think that speaks for both of us now. As we mentioned, it's your 1 year anniversary, and you had a lot of learning lessons in that 1 year. What would you say your greatest one is to share with everyone listening on today?
Okay, greatest lesson learned in the first year. Okay, so this is a huge one, and this is very important for all business owners that are gonna, get into partnerships, whether it's an influencer, content strategist, anything along the lines of a contract. A big thing that I learned was I agreed to a 6-month contract for X amount of dollars, with no midway point to review and possibly get myself out of it if it wasn't working. So what I would suggest is you protect yourselves with contractual obligations with like a 60 or a 90-day review period that you can opt out of the contract if your data isn't showing that your investment's worth it, your ROI, return on investment. And so that's a lesson I learned early on in the marketing sector, content development, and sales. A lot of times people's promises are too good to be true, and you need to protect yourself.
Most of the time, and I've learned this, it is an old cliche, but if it sounds too good to be true, there's a good chance it is. You may not see it at first, but I always trust my gut. And when I do that, I don't really get as disappointed.
Exactly. And yeah, so just to recap on it, just do your homework and make sure you have an opt out before the actual end of your contract.
Very good advice there. You don't want to get stuck into something that will ultimately waste your time, our most valuable asset. But if we had some more time, even with some entrepreneurs who have passed on now, or with some alive entrepreneurs, who would you choose to have a conversation with to learn about?
So it's funny, I was looking at that question a little earlier, and for me, I am like a big history buff, and I don't know if you can even definitely call him an entrepreneur, but he was very big in our future and everything. I would probably pick Albert Einstein. He might not be the classic entrepreneur, but he was a pioneer for a lot of inventions and a lot of different technologies that we use every day. And I always just, like, since I was a kid, was very fascinated by him and how he pretty much discovered the speed of light because he had a dream as a kid that he was running next to a shooting star. So, he really was somebody that he thought of something and figured out the answers hundreds of years before a lot of people even could. Well, maybe not hundreds, 800 years before
Yeah,
some people. But either way, I would say that would be the person I would talk to and ask for advice, and would love to pick his brain on CBD and really get an idea of what he thought.
you have to think when people come on the show and suggest older guests like so, or even the titans of industry, Rockefeller, you name it, they
Right.
didn't have Google. Right now, there's a lot of complaints in the world, and we have it so easy in some ways when these people, they had nothing.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. The Rockefellers are part of the reason why hemp was illegal. So I don't think I'd like to talk to them. They were just a bunch of monopolists.
Well, let's delve a bit deeper, Tom. If you could choose the location of your meet with Einstein, where would you choose?
Shoot. It's gonna sound a little cliche coming from me to you, especially us both being from Northport, and anybody that knows me that's probably listening to this, but I'd have to go with Montauk. Love to talk to him out on that beach out there.
It's a great place for a meeting, a lot of options, but let's look into the future now, Tom. What's next for your entrepreneurial endeavors?
I'm just looking to try to constantly grow this business. COVID made it a little harder
Yep.
to grow as quick as we wanted. So I'm looking for partners. I'm looking for influencers. I'm looking for sales managers, people that are going to be able to help grow my business that I can also compensate, and just spread our goal of a more sustainable environment, more sustainable business models, more sustainable products, and really educating on wellness. Like, I want everybody to take CBD. It doesn't even have to be Sonny's. If you're happy with the brand, that's great. But do other changes. Get outside more. Start cleaning up the environment. Start doing some hikes and some workouts. Eat healthier. And talk to somebody, whether it's a best friend or a professional. Us as humans have a bad tendency to just keep burying things and let them build up and build up. And then a lot of times we crack or something spurts out, and damage is done. So I'd really like to continue to educate and get people going on coping and just doing things the right way.
Absolutely. Like he said, he wants to do more to raise the awareness of the benefits of CBD. Stay on the lookout for some content coming from me and him on my YouTube channel in the fourth quarter of this year. A lot of cool stuff in the works with Tom. And now we have the opportunity to get his take on this week's Spotlight story. On each episode, I share an entrepreneurial journey to inspire our listeners. And today, since we have a CBD entrepreneur on the show, we will look into the journey of another and former NFL champ and fan favorite, Rob Gronkowski, who's down here in Tampa all the time. Many retire from pro sports and disappear, but not Gronk. We have seen him in dozens of commercials, usually giving us a laugh, and he has also expanded his entrepreneurial endeavors now to include CBD. Following his retirement from pro football in March 2019, he announced a partnership with Abacus Health Products, the company behind CBD Medic topical pain relief products. In doing so, he became an outspoken advocate for CBD in an effort to help athletes and people suffering from pain, just like today's guest. Gronk attributes his use of CBD medic as a key factor in his decision to return to football after that little retirement stint. Quote, I left the game last year after realizing that my body had taken a beating and needed to recover. I've taken the recovery process seriously, and CBD medic has played a big role in my recovery. Now, I'm glad to share that I'm back in the game. He went on to say, as a result of my personal experience, I have advocated for the use of CBD products to be available to both the public and professional athletes, and I'm glad to see changes in policy with sports organizations across the board. Tom, what are your takeaways with Gronk's story?
I love it. I love it. There's a lot of professional athletes that are doing similar stuff. Terrell Davis got behind a brand. I know there's a couple UFC fighters that have gotten behind some brands. The bottom line is it's a plant-based product that's been around for thousands of years that does nothing harmful to your body. So I love that people are stepping out of their comfort zones and trying to normalize this because it is just been hidden from us, and it is so key for people in combat sports, physically demanding fields of work. It's going to change your life. We might have talked about it in one of your last episodes, Vin, but Steamroller Frivola, a good friend of mine, Matty Frivola, who's in the UFC.
He was on for one of the. We had him on here. Yep.
Yeah. Another one of his really close friends, one of my buddies, Billy Quarantillo, both also Tampa guys, UFC guys. They're huge CBD advocates. Billy's very loyal to a brand in Tampa. I've been trying to get him to switch to mine for a while, but he loves our stuff. And Matty uses Sonny's every day. And these are guys that are getting beaten and having to stretch and practice and work out and constantly put a toll on their bodies, and it's putting them in a position to recover and to succeed and get stronger and better. So like the athletic sector, the working out sector, the physically demanding sector is like the no-brainer. You're going to feel the results within 10 minutes.
Those are some guys who are good examples because of how strong and how beneficial it can be, especially for people in the UFC field. I'm not sure what brand does he use in Tampa.
I forget. I want to say it's CBD Pure. There's a ton of brands, and just you got to do your homework a little bit. Make sure they're third party tested. Make sure that they've got the milligrams.
Very important. Yep.
And make sure it's obviously it should be sourced in the United States. Try to keep everything in our borders. But another big factor which makes us different is the eco-friendly aspect of it. Ours is all glass containers, recycled boxes, recycled paper labels, plant-based adhesive.
It's amazing, yeah.
Yeah, so we're really going above and beyond as much as we can. We even do a paperless billing system. So that's what makes us different. All our stuff is also all natural. It's all third-party tested, but there's a ton of different brands out there. It's a brand new industry, and I encourage people to try stuff and see what works best for you. But just because something didn't work doesn't mean you shouldn't try a different brand, because not everyone is what they say they are.
Very well said. That's an important lesson. Thank you for sharing that. And Tom, I got to thank you so much for coming on for your season 1 episode. Of course, started the show with how much I enjoyed your personal lesson with moving across country to make it happen. If you have to do it, do it. You're learning your difficult parts, the marketing, the SEO, that relates to all of us. That's certainly not one of my strengths, but I am trying to improve every day. And I enjoyed your choice for Einstein because of why you chose him. And now I'd like to ask you for your last word.
I guess my last word would be, if you don't know about CBD and you're curious, shoot us a DM. Sonny's Wellness. We're on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, everything these days. It's so much fun to manage. But yeah, reach out with questions. We want to educate and try plant-based products. The future is plants. We digest and intake plants so much better than everything. CBD is a natural plant, hemp-based oil, and it can do wonders for you or your loved ones' lives. It's not going to cure and fix everything, but it's going to help. It's going to help.
Can you let everybody know again your website and social media handles?
Absolutely. So it's sonnyswellness.com for the website, and just Sonny's Wellness is the handles. That's Instagram, Sonny's Wellness, TikTok, Sonny's Wellness, YouTube, Sonny's Wellness, Pinterest, Sonny's Wellness, and Twitter, Sonny's Wellness.
Be sure to check out his products and reach out if you have any questions about CBD. He is here to help. And while you are on the internet, be sure to check us out too. We are at That Entrepreneur Show on all social media, except for Twitter. We're at Podcast by Lancey. So you have updates from all 4 shows.
I would love to add just one more part, just something that just I thought of. Anyone listening that does want to try it or take advantage, Vin, if it's cool with you, I'd love to release a discount code for any of your listeners. You can just use the code Sonny's30. That'll get you 30% off of the website. That's going to be active. So if anyone is curious and wants to try this stuff, I will give a discount for any of the listeners. That's Sonny's, SONNYS 30 at checkout.
Be sure to check out that code. It will be in the show bio that you were listening to today. Just scroll down, and while you are on social media, be sure to check us out too. We are at That Entrepreneur Show on all social media, except for Twitter. We're at Podcast by Lancey, so you have updates from all of my shows. My handles are at Vincent A. Lancey for all social media and YouTube, and my website is vincentalancy.com. Be sure to check out my books. They are all on Amazon now, and my most recent book is Mental Health Week. It is a book for elementary age students. And it is time to end the show with a quote. And this one is from today's Spotlight entrepreneur, Gronk. It's always frustrating when you drop the ball, but you've got to go back out there and you've got to put that play in the back of your head and keep going. And that describes what we talked about today. With a lot of failure in our businesses, a lot can go wrong. You have to just keep going forward and not give up. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next week on That Entrepreneur Show.